to another Lit Chat. I'm Kate Angelo, and this is Tara Sullivan. We are here to talk about books and authors and the culture of reading. Today, we are going to cover some children's books, both ones we like and then slightly darker side. Tara, do you want to start with the ones that you like or have meaning for you?
Sure. I mean, my general way of approaching children and books is there's a book for everybody. So sometimes when children aren't so keen on reading or they don't think they are, I don't care if they're 4 years old or 80 years old, because that wouldn't be a child. Always kind of run by the tenet, there's a book for everybody. Mm-hmm. So you just haven't found the right one yet. And there are a few tried and trues, and I think primarily because I loved them so much as a child, but Frog and Toad,
yes,
which have just withstood time so well. They're kind, they're aware, I just love them. So any of the Frog and Toad books always grab those young readers. And then this one is funny because I remember my first grade teacher reading us the book Caps for Sale.
Uh-huh.
And it's about this man, a cap vendor, who has a big stack of caps upon his head, who then, he's not doing so hot that day, sales are down, so he takes a nap. He awakens to find that monkeys have taken all his caps and run up into a tree. But the funny thing is I don't know if it's kind of having a renaissance or if it's just me being more aware of it since I liked the book when I was a child. But we have several kids who come into the library who are like obsessed with it.
Really?
And love it. I actually tracked down the other books in this series. There's like Circus, Caps for Sale, and more Caps for Sale for a few of these children who are so entranced by this book. But it's so funny. Like, I mean, it just does not, it's not like a real, except for the monkeys in the tree, which are very humorous. There's something about it that kids just love. So this one is also a fond favorite of mine. And then this one I have loved forever. A Hole is to Dig.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's one of those odd little, Ruth Krauss wrote a few of them. This one is illustrated by Maurice Sendak, and it is just delightful. The first page is mashed potatoes are to give everybody enough. And I should say that it's called A Hole is to Dig, a first book of first definitions. And everyone is just, arms are to hug with, ears are to wiggle.
Oh, I love that.
To build in the sand. It's just such a quirky little fun book to read, but it also opens up so much discussion, whether you're reading it to a 2-year-old or like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Rugs are so you don't get splinters in you, which you remember if you've ever grown up in an old house like I did.
Yes.
Splinters were the bane of my existence. A mountain is to go to the top. Like it's so simple, but it opens up a lot.
Yeah.
Of talk with the little ones, in my opinion. So what are your...
I like though. I think one thing yours have in common is sort of the simplicity of them. I like that.
Definitely.
Mine are, and I will say these are not ones from my childhood, but my son's younger.
Oh, nice.
I've got Willoughby and the Moon by Greg Foley. Just sort of, I find a very pretty book. It's all silver, black, and white.
Oh, yeah. Fairly
simplistic drawing. Willoughby travels to the moon to find his missing ball. Meets giant snails, as one does on the moon. The next one is The Adventures of Beagle, the Unimaginary Friend. If anyone saw the library's TikTok video, this was my terrible attempt at being Beagle.
It was adorable.
And what I like about this one is it's really pretty. The artwork is by Dan Santat, and I guess he's the author and illustrator. But the illustrations, if you can, I don't know if I'm holding that right. They're great, and it's a really great book about an imaginary friend finding its person. And
I love that.
you know, friends finding friends, that there's a friend for everyone, basically. And the next one is A Sick Day for Amos Mcgee.
Love that.
Which is also very simple. It's by Philip Stead, I'm not sure. Illustrated by Aaron Stead or Steed.
They're a husband and wife team, right?
They are a husband and wife team. They have a lot of really great books.
Yeah, agreed.
And this one also, it's, I guess for me, illustrations are a big deal. But it follows Amos, the zookeeper, who always goes to work, but then has to take a sick day, unfortunately. And the animals, they miss him, so they go find him. Have to show that one.
Oh, I love it. Do you know, I remember when that book came out, I was working with your mom. Hi, Miss Cassie. And just like loved it. It's a sweet book. It's so engaging. It's like, it just shows such nice, but I love children's books that aren't preachy.
Exactly. The stories are very simple. They're extremely imaginative, and they just sort of are what they are. Here's the story. Exactly. Take it. It's yours. Exactly. And then I have to mention, just because I have read these books no less than a million times, Julia Donaldson. She's a British author, and I have a few of them. This is Tiddler, Superworm, Room on the Broom. They're all very, they're good to read aloud. So awesome for young kids, awesome for a little bit older. I will say too, what I like with children's books is they're not too dumbed down. The language isn't too simple.
Absolutely.
Which is what keeps them engaging and gets our literacy rates up and our kids' vocabulary and all that. But those are mine.
Love them. Funny, two of those Julia Donaldsons I'm not familiar with. I'm embarrassed to say. Did she also write the Charlie Cookbook?
Yes.
Okay. I know those. I know The Snail and the Whale.
Snail and the Whale, that's great.
Two of those I'll have to look at now. I'm excited to go check out more of her books.
They're fun. Very sing-songy. So there are like a trillion amazing, wonderful children's books, and then there are also children's books that will give you nightmares. That's funny, because the ones that gave me nightmares are the most innocuous. Like there is nothing about them, but I think as adults, we also need to be keyed in very strongly to children. And sometimes things that sometimes parents have even told me, oh, we read this book. My daughter didn't have a problem at bedtime until she read this book. Like literally sometimes, a book meant with every intention of helping the child or finding feelings or being okay can be overdone. Yeah. But I actually kind of switch. I have two that, and I love them. And for years, when people would ask me like what my favorite book as a real young child was, I would say Miss Susie. And I still consider it fondly, but oddly enough, I was also scared of it. And there's a scene where the toy soldiers fight with the squirrels. I don't know if you can see it well. Yeah. And for some reason, I did not like that. And it's funny, I've never read this aloud to a group or anything. No. I think I've just been, but it ends very nicely. She looked through the branches and she could see a million stars. The wind blew gently and rocked the tree like a cradle.
it was very peaceful, and Miss Susie was very happy once more. Great ending.
Yeah.
But getting there, for some reason, freaked me out, that they were fighting and there was like these crazy red squirrels.
Oh.
And then this one is, I know, poor squirrels, which I'm still afraid of, is such a classic, and I love it now, The Little House.
Mm-hmm.
There's also seen, oh, and also this book was printed upside down, so publisher's error. It had scenes of a city in it that scared me, even though I love cities.
It looks overwhelming.
And it's these little details that I think we have to really think long and hard.
Yeah.
About the books we present to particularly very young children, because
Mm-hmm.
a picture can be so powerful.
Absolutely.
And even now in this day and age, with technology and things moving as fast as they do, a book is like a moment in time. It's
Mm-hmm.
You can sit and look at a picture in a book for as long as you'd like, but I think that we still have that. Those are the connections that are being made for children to see how the world is.
Right.
And every child I know who's in a preschool program is read to often, whether it's in the class or at home or both, ideally both. And that books can really, really be a very powerful force.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have any that you weren't fond of or that unsettled you? Or
So I have one, which I can't really say I wasn't fond of, because I remember reading it a lot. And it honestly, it could be like the neuroses of the adult. And I'm just placing it on my childhood self.
oh my God.
I now think it looks scary. But the book is Frady Cat. It is, I don't even know when it's from. It's had no publishing date. Nothing, no publishing information. Drawn a picture in it, I don't know.
Of a jail. Yeah.
Of a cat in jail, clearly.
Of a mental jail. Yeah.
But I think it was just the illustrations in general. So they're all black, white, and like this gold color. And they're just a little frightening. And this cat gets stuck on this carousel. It involves bullies. So the story itself isn't like super nice. Again, like Miss Susie, it ends up fine. The cat ends up being brave. Everybody likes him. But, he has to ride that terrifying tiger to do so.
Tiger King Carousel.
Tiger King Carousel scared us all.
You knew. Yeah.
But I read that one to my son as well, because I remembered it sort of fondly. Okay. He never had a problem with it. But, while I'm reading it, I'm going, oh my God.
What's wrong with these people?
Right, yeah. So that was mine.
Funny. I liked it. I was not familiar with that one either. So it's always interesting to see new books that terrified my friends and colleagues. Anything else about where you would kind of position adults to choose books for children?
I will say, because our libraries are closed, and because we're a family of books in hand versus e-readers, and now we're all online all day, so my 8-year-old doesn't need to read books online too. Right. I just went to Scholastic to look up books that are on his grade level or slightly above his grade level, or his reading level, which you can, it was amazing. And I don't know, we have a login through his school. I don't know what their website is like, just open, but I imagine you can look things up. But you can filter it either by grade or by reading level, and they have the guided reading level, they have Lexile, they have a
Oh,
bunch
that's
of other
great.
of the measurement systems. So if you have their reading level from school, you can, filter it out. And I do recommend something slightly above because that's how they get there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I had to order them someplace else. But so I just bought books, which I never do.
Right. Also, I discovered, and I should have known this, through our library, we use Hoopla,
Mm-hmm.
online books, and much more, actually. They have a great selection of graphic novels.
They do.
And that surprised me, which it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have. I steer people toward graphic novels very often. I
I
think
do
they're a
too.
great way to get, especially, it doesn't matter what level the reading is at. For
Mm-hmm.
reluctant readers, they look, I'm going to use the word easier because that's the one the kids always use. Oh, good, it
Yep.
looks easy. And then for advanced readers, you can find graphic novels of any level. I mean, right, we've got
Yeah.
ones that are definitely not kid friendly, actually, that are great. They're fantastic books, but they're just
Right.
meant for adults.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of options, even if
Mm-hmm.
you do have to go online.
No, we
And I
read,
like
yeah. My
your
son's a
idea
great
of going
reader, but
above.
yeah, we read graphic novels as a bridge between me reading to him
Hmm.
and him reading chapter books by himself. So
Yeah, it works very, in my experience anyway, very,
they
very well.
do. They're confidence boosters.
They are, and the interest ranges, whether you're superheroes or Babysitters Club has a line now, anything you can find in graphic novel. And
Yeah.
I think I've told you this before, sometimes I go back and I'll read, gosh, what are they called? Classic comics. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. Okay, I think they're classic comics, but they're like Dickens novels in graphic novel form,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
so great. Like every once in a while, I want to go back and visit, Miss Havisham, but I don't feel like reading the whole book. I just want to see them all. And so really, you can find for every genre, for every level, but Hoopla has a great selection. So
They do.
if you are stuck without books, check them out with your library card. If you are not certain of your library card number or your PIN code, call the library. We are
Mm-hmm.
so happy to help you with that.
Yeah.
And it's just one more, even if you don't use it regularly, I love having it as an option myself.
Yeah. Me too. And we're happy to give suggestions too. And a
Absolutely.
number of the staff members can, especially Miss Keisha,
Yeah, for sure.
can guide you in the right direction
Yeah.
for your kids.
And I'll just mention real quickly before we wrap, if you haven't seen Nikisha's story times,
Yeah.
they're so good. She is just, there's something about her. She is just so, she just works magic with books. But if you go to our homepage of our website, or we do have a dedicated YouTube channel. Our Facebook has all that information, so you can find us. We're all over social media. We're everywhere. So have a look, and it's just, I can't imagine actually more adults tell me that they love our story times.
Yeah.
For themselves. They're like, oh, they're so soothing, and they're so, I remember that book, or like, oh, I had never heard of that one. So we are reading to adults as well as children, which I love.
Funny.
Yeah. And that's about all I have. I think.
I'm good too.
Okay, then. So we'll wrap up. And it's always a pleasure talking about books with you. We could go on for hours, but we won't. Don't worry. Come back.
No. To make dinner at some point.
Oh, food. Ooh, cookbooks. That would be a good one too.
That would be a good one. So next time we will talk about what makes a favorite book.
Love that idea.
We may have a guest.
I was going to say, we'll have a great guest speaker. One of the funniest, wittiest people we know.
Absolutely. Her name will be a surprise. You'll have to wait and see. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in to LitChat from the Long Branch Public Library. And we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.